Ask and you shall receive. A few of you have asked for reading recommendations and the source material for Geeky Stoics videos. So here it is. 8 books you need to read in 2025 that will entertain and inform you with some actionable philosophy that can be applied to your daily life. Book 1, George Lucas, A Life by Brian J. Jones. This is a biography of our man, the legend, George Lucas. This book details how he did it and every single barrier that he smashed through in Hollywood to make Star Wars a reality. On this channel, we draw out philosophical lessons on life from the stories and lives of great storytellers. George Lucas's life, I think, is something of a cautionary tale. He has a wild mind and a major problem with the desire for control. It both powers his success, but also dooms many of his relationships and creative endeavors. I also think you learn in this biography just how much George Lucas put his own problems into Anakin Skywalker and sort of wrote Star Wars as a reminder to himself about the importance of letting go of things outside your control. Book 2, Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. Of the big 3 in Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, I like Seneca's writing the most. Seneca was a Roman statesman and advisor to Rome's very evil Emperor Nero, and he died by forced suicide at the end of his career when Nero could no longer be contained. Letters from a Stoic are his letters to a friend named Lucilius, and they cover materialism, managing friendships, productivity, public speaking tips, and the pitfalls of moral relativism. My favorite passages are simple things like saying that your words when speaking publicly should vary in speed, sometimes speeding up for emphasis and sometimes slowing down to keep the listener's attention. See what I did there? Seneca's letters are very readable and more practical than Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and they will change your life. Book 3, The Power of Myth, an interview of Joseph Campbell by Bill Moyers. This book comes from a PBS interview of the scholar Joseph Campbell in 1985, taped at Skywalker Ranch. It's about what myths are, why we need them, and what kind of myths inform our past, present, and future. What do snakes symbolize across different cultures? What is the spiritual point of the gender binary, and why is gender ideology related to utopianism? Why do young men turn to crime and violence, and what do societies need to do to give people a sense of meaning that keeps nihilism and self-destruction at bay? There's so much here that informs Star Wars, Dune, Nietzschean philosophy, and why some people might want to tear down fictitious heroes as part of a social change agenda. This is a very relevant book and something that I think you'll enjoy. Book 4, The Magicians Nephew, C.S. Lewis. You know The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but did you read the prequel, Book 1 of the series, that will be getting a film adaptation on Netflix this year by Greta Gerwig? This is a big deal in 2025. Narnia was huge in the early 2000s after Wardrobe's box office success, and then it flamed out with 2 pretty messy sequels that did poorly. Gerwig, though, is a serious storyteller, and she also is really reverent when it comes to theology. So read the book. It's only 100 pages, very funny and charming, and I think you might actually like it more than Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This book is about rules, why we need them to function, and why devilish people and figures in stories are so adamant about breaking rules and twisting natural law. Oh, and fun fact, Dave Filoni got his entire idea for the world between worlds in Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka from The Magicians Nephew, almost word for word, and he's credited Lewis with his idea for multiverse portals within the Star Wars lore. So knock this book out before the Greta Gerwig movie gets released. Book 5, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. What more needs to be said about Meditations besides that you can read the diary of a Roman emperor? It's pretty cool. Meditations is Aurelius struggling with depression, anxiety, and fear in his role as a military leader and politician, writing notes to himself and reminders about how to deal with people and be a decent person in indecent times. America's coolest president, Theodore Roosevelt, took Meditations with him on an expedition through the Amazon. Its main idea is that we as people have a duty to live according to our nature. build things, raise families, manage complex systems, be a human being. We're not animals, we're something higher, but animals can teach us something about doing what needs to be done. I was delighted to see that Meditations is also referenced very openly in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, when Cal Kestis is training under Master Jaro Japal, who instructs him on how to move objects with the Force. And the achievement that you unlock in the game is "The Obstacle is the Way," which is the title of a book on Stoicism by Ryan Holiday. It summarizes Aurelius's words on how to deal with difficult people. Challenges are to be thought of as opportunities, and without challenges, we never learn what we're made of. And we think of this as the obstacle is the way. So do read Meditations. It's the starting point for any of this. Book 6, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I love this book. C.S. Lewis did the Chronicles of Narnia series and was a close friend for many years of J.R.R. Tolkien when they worked together at Oxford. Now, the cool thing about Narnia is that it is a fiction book series based on the arguments and ideas that Lewis was developing in Mere Christianity. The book is half composed of content that C.S. Lewis broadcast live on the BBC to the British people during the bombing raids of London during World War II. Now, back then, Britain still appreciated Christian scholarship. Not Oxford, but the BBC definitely tolerated it and thought that Lewis could bring hope to the Brits about the state of the war. And he did. These broadcasts were reformulated into this book about what Christian belief is at its core, putting aside Protestantism versus Catholicism or denominational hair-splitting. And Lewis is so clever with analogy and how to illustrate complex ideas. And like Letters from a Stoic, it really changed and improved my life. It's also painfully relevant on issues related to socialism and fascism, gender roles and relationships, and the role that Christianity should or should not play in society. So, Book 7, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. There are a lot of books about the Holocaust and Holocaust survivors, but none of them get to the heart of the matter better than Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Frankl was a practicing psychologist before he landed in the Nazi death camps, and while he was there trying to survive, he was also observing the nature of hope versus despair in the camp. It's not about why some people died and others didn't. It's more about how anyone could survive that situation at all. Frankl dissects how meaning and purpose keep people alive, and what it looks like when people or systems are trying to crush your sense of meaning. It's considered by many to be a modern Stoicism text in the way that Epictetus's Stoic lectures on suffering have stood the test of time. And it's because Frankl makes the ultimate case for rejecting a victimhood mentality, while in a death camp, mind you. And he argues that even in the most impossible situations, we always still have the choice about how we react and behave. This is a book that people today really need to read. And last but not least, How the Force Can Fix the World by me. Star Wars fans, this one is for you. I have always thought that Star Wars was a guide to life, and this book lays out in 7 chapters the 7 virtues that Star Wars teaches us as kids that can help us as adults. Humility, empathy, courage, choice, redemption, balance. This book has a lot of fans who love the philosophy and politics of Star Wars, the original artwork in the book, and in this book I really tried to remind Star Wars fans that Disney cannot kill what it did not create. I was finishing this book for Hachette when The Rise of Skywalker came out, and it almost broke my spirit. I was so sad about how bad that movie was and how it was sort of antithetical to the mythology that George Lucas gave us. And I almost gave up on Star Wars entirely and this book, but writing How the Force Can Fix the World was a reminder to myself that what Lucas gave us with the Skywalkers and the Jedi cannot be taken away from us unless we give it up. From my cold, dead hands. It's on Amazon right now at a pretty good discount, so you can go and grab a copy. And that's it. 8 books that inform a lot of our videos on Geeky Stoics. You can go deeper on philosophy and pop culture with us at geekystoics.com. Links are below, including links to all these books. Let's make 2025 a good year.